everybody. It's Sunday, September 13th. It is football Sunday. Thank God. But this is an episode of the Hardcore Smarks, a show where a couple of know-it-all smart marks talk about their hardcore obsessions. As always, I'm Zachary, the host. And as always, with me is J-Bone, Stretch, and Wally5. Guys, how are we doing?
Fantastic.
Happy birthday to the birthday boy, Stretch.
Happy birthday to the baby.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
A very special episode where we just talk about Stretch all episode long.
Uh-oh.
Stretch, take us back to the beginning.
Well, we don't have 8 hours to allocate to the podcast, so.
Well, in that case, let's switch it over to a different topic. Let's talk about our favorite wrestlers post-2010. Much like our pre-2010 episodes, we each nominated 3 wrestlers. We had one kind of 13th nominee. So let's quick go through who we nominated. I'll start that off. I had Johnny Gargano, Finn Balor, and Tommaso Ciampa. Wally, who'd you have?
Adam Cole, AJ Styles, and Cody Rhodes.
Stretch.
I went Kenny Omega, Shinsuke Nakamura, and CM Punk.
J-Bone.
And I had Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, and Brock Lesnar.
And then for our 13th, we had Okada out of New Japan. Okay, so he is the birthday baby boy. Stretch, who do you want to start off with this week? Oh, hang on. Before we do that, once again, in-ring out of 15, Mike skills and look out of 10, and our intangible flex category out of 5. So go ahead.
Right. Okay. So first off, I think let's go Cody Rhodes first.
Cody Rhodes. Also this time, so I made a nice nerdy spreadsheet, so I don't have to do math. It's going to be much quicker, and it will rank in real time, so it's be fun. So Cody Rhodes. So let's start off there, Stretch, with your in-ring.
In-ring, I gave Cody Rhodes an 11.
11. All right, let's just go ahead and round robin before we discuss there. J-Bone.
I gave him a 10.
I gave him a 12. I gave him a 12.
As did I.
Good to see we're all on consensus on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I really think that this list, as far as in-ring, is better than the one we did a week ago.
I would agree.
Pretty much all these guys are solid in the ring, so it's tough to deviate. I can't really give anybody. It's hard for me without giving anything away. It's really hard for me to give anybody below a 10 on maybe one person below a 10 on this list. So
right.
One person.
Yeah, so let's narrow it down a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about Cody's in-ring.
He's definitely improved since his WWE days.
Yes.
If his career was solely based on just WWE, I probably would have ranked him a lot lower. But I feel like he's gotten a lot more. Obviously, he's an executive vice president of AEW. He's gotten a lot more creative freedom.
And I just think WWE dropped the ball with him. Like they did. They 100%.
Across the board.
This is like WCW letting Stone Cold go and somebody else turning him into a star. This is the same thing. WWE had a star, did not realize it, let him go, and now this guy is a freaking star. So.
Right. Yeah, it's one of those things.
I think it's hard to keep everybody though for WWE's in defense. I think it's hard to keep every person. There's going to be people that slip through the cracks here and there.
I know, but it's better for WWE when they let the shitty people slip through the cracks.
I was just about to say that.
Not the star. This guy's a star. So if you let Rusev slip through the cracks, who gives a shit?
Yep.
So this is a guy that they could have, like I said, this is like WCW with Stone Cold to me.
Well, plus he has lineage in the business too. Like when your dad is Dusty Rhodes, that kind of should say something. I mean, I know we aren't really all that fond of Gold Dust, but I mean, he's had history in the business.
No, he has. We just don't care anymore.
The name alone, the surname speaks for itself, and I feel like that is reason enough to at least give him a fair shake than they did.
Then Stardust.
Yeah.
I liked the whole one that was DiBiase. Cody Rhodes.
Legacy.
Yeah. I was a huge fan of them.
Yeah.
I thought that was a real great gimmick and everything.
Yeah. It's a good way to bring him on the scene, too.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back then over to his mic skills.
I went 8 on Mike.
All right. J-Bone?
9.
Oh, there.
9.
Jumping the gun there. Wally.
Sorry.
That's all right.
I went 7.
7, as did I.
He's got his daddy's lisp, but he knows how to deliver a promo.
I mean, his
promos are great.
His promos in AEW have been fabulous. Like, that's why I gave him a 9. If I was giving him it based on WWE, I probably would have given him a 7. But he's had some really, he's had some of the best promos outside of MJF.
I mean,
in AEW.
His introductory promo at the AEW, the announcement press conference, he coined the term Revolution, which they use for an annual pay-per-view name now. So
yeah, he's only person I gave a 9, so he's one of the top tier guys for me on the mic on this list. So
yeah, definitely. All right, let's go then to look entrance, that kind of category there. Stretch.
I went 8 as well. Would have been 1 point higher had he not had that stupid neck tattoo.
Me also.
He's got great theme music too, so that did it a little bit higher for me.
I gave him an 8 too.
Okay, J-Bone.
8.
I went really low for them, the group. I went 5. I think he's I didn't really care for the Stardust angle. I hate his neck tattoo. His entrance is okay, but especially when I look at the rest of my list and I was trying to rank it, he's definitely below a lot of other people on my list. So went low on that one. All right. Let's then go to his intangibles. Stretch.
I went 3 on that.
Okay.
4.
I have 3 as well.
And I went through. No, actually, I gave him a 5 on that one. I went lineage. I went the fact he's basically leading his own brand.
Mm-hmm. He bet on himself.
Yep.
I took a point off because I don't like the fact that he thinks he needs to blade and do all this stuff to draw extra attention to himself. I feel like he's a drama queen kind of. So
look at how his daddy was. Look at how his forehead ended up.
Right, but that doesn't mean it's the right way to go. So that's why I took a point away from him, because I think there's too much drama in his matches right now. He doesn't need to bleed every other week. So
right. Well, we won't be seeing him in matches for a while he films that show, sadly.
All right. So he ends up with 30 points.
Okay.
So he is now in first place. Okay. J-Bone.
I guess we'll go with Brock Lesnar.
Okay. Going off with, I think, might be our Hogan for the list.
Yeah.
This is very well going to be.
All right. J-Bone, in ring.
I went 8. He's very limited on his moves. Obviously, his matches usually don't last very long.
Me also. I gave him an 8.
I went 10.
Oh boy.
How low? How low can we go?
He's number 1 twice, so I gave him a 2.
Wow.
I gave him a 2 for his 2 moves, suplex and an F5.
So I guess the argument for me on that one would be, what about from 2002 to 2004 when he was one of the best wrestlers in the business? What about then? You're discounting that happened?
Well, aren't we talking about 2010 to present?
Right, but still, if we're using him on this list though, so you're talking about his whole career essentially. We just put him in this list because more of his stuff has happened after 2010. So anything he did before 2010 still counts.
For that 1 year out of the 20-something.
2 years.
For that 2 years out of the 20-something he's been in the business?
Well, he hasn't really been in the business. He didn't wrestle do anything for 8 years. So really it's only been 12 years probably. So, but I think you're discounting him too much, because what he did back then was top-notch stuff. So
okay. Again, I will bring up the point that we're talking about 2010 to now on this list.
I think
to counter
both
that.
valid. I mean, I definitely can see a 2 on that. I just went 10. Just because basically once I scored him up, I'm like, he can't be lower than Hogan on my score, so therefore I had to bump him up a couple. So, all right, let's go then to his mic skills.
I went 2.
Okay.
me also.
I went 3.
I went. Hang on here. So you went. Wait, what'd you go, Stretch? Sorry.
3.
3. Wally, sorry.
2.
2. I went 4, mainly because while he didn't talk much when he did, he got to swear. So
His best promo in his life was in UFC. So his best promo ever wasn't even in WWE. So
because he picked the other beer that wasn't sponsoring the fight, and how he's going to talk about he's going to go home and fuck his wife. So
So other than him cursing from time to time, he's needed a mouthpiece always. So
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely lacking in that then. So let's go to his look. J-Bone.
I gave him a 3.
Woof, this guy is hurting. All right. I went with a 6. Wally, what do you got for him?
I gave him a 10.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going for the wrong. I was going to the category that only ranked out of 5. I gave him a 6.
6? Okay, hang on. Let me go edit that. 6. Okay, and Stretch.
It's actually the category I gave him the highest marks out of him. I gave him a 7.
All right, so I mean, he's got an okay entrance, but I hate that sword tattoo with such a burning passion.
See, this one, I think, I actually on this one think you guys are wrong. So I think he has the look of everybody on this list we have. He has the look more than anyone. And if you guys try to argue with me and tell me somebody has a better look than him, I'm not going to agree with
sure,
you.
he looks like a wrestler, but
he does.
Has points off for some really bad tattoos. He's got points off for his music and his walk-ins fine, but
no, his music's really good and his whole bouncing around thing is unique. Nobody else does that. So he definitely is I guess the problem is, to me, look, you guys I clearly don't think the guy looking like a wrestler is more important than anything on this, and this guy looks like a wrestler more than anybody on this list by far.
But
overall package, I could care less if he's big and muscular. Otherwise, everyone else would be scoring next to nothing on this list.
You can give Goldberg a high score.
The guy who we think has the best look for a quote unquote wrestler has got the lowest points marks in the wrestling category.
Whatever. Like I said. You guys, I think I don't ever say that. I think you guys are wrong on this one. So.
Well, yep, you are the lone person on this one, so maybe we'll go with the majority wins. Let's go to intangibles.
Right, that's definitely not what it comes down to. You want to argue because there's 3 of you and 1 of me? That's definitely not a good reason there.
I mean, we have a consensus. Okay, I mean, we keep talking about it. I mean, okay, so I don't really care about
3 people can
around.
definitely be wrong. 3 people can definitely be wrong compared to 1. Especially when one's much more wrestling than all 3 you want to hear combined, probably.
Okay, we can go with that.
Yeah,
then
what does that
in this
mean,
case,
though?
all it means is Wally's score from now on is the only one to be keeping track of. Because he's watched more wrestling.
I'm surprised at you guys on this one. I really am. I thought
we didn't give him 2s or 3s. I kind of went mid-range, with slightly above average.
I gave him 2s and 3s.
Well, I meant in the look category. You're allowed to give him 2s, 3s. The other one, we all kind of agreed on that section. So, all right, let's go intangibles. There, J-Bone.
I gave him a 3.
3. I went with a 3 as well. Wally.
3.
I went with a 2.
And a 2. He's kind of I gave him kind of low marks because recently he's kind of been a absentee champion a lot. They kind of just let him come and go as he pleases.
Yeah.
One of his intangibles for me was Heyman. I mean, Heyman and him was the perfect pairing.
It was. All right. So he gets a 19.75. On that one, it breaks down. Wally and I scored him exactly the same with 23. Stretch gave him a whopping 14.
So this guy scored drastically lower than Hogan. Okay. That one I definitely.
Well, if you think about it, they're both limited in the ring. Hogan was better on the mic. Hogan was more of a superstar generationally.
One of them was definitely better than the other one in the ring. Even if we're just talking about a 2-year period, one of them was definitely better than the other one in the ring for sure.
Yeah, I'm not trying to compare them in the ring. I just said they're both limited.
One of them was in a couple matches of a lifetime in this career. The other one wasn't. So,
but how much did he contribute
for wrestling? Yeah.
I'm trying to find my notes from that episode. I don't know where those ones are.
For
Okay,
the Hogan rankings?
Yeah, let's see. Hogan, you scored him a 12, 22, 26, I believe. Hang on. 2, 10.
Me or Wally?
You. Yeah, you gave him a 26 versus the 14 for Brock. So yeah, you just don't like Brock, which is also okay. That also looks delicious. I don't know what you're eating, but I want one.
It's a pumpkin cinnamon roll.
Oh, amazing.
I hate Hogan, and I didn't do that much damage to him. Apparently, I should have been meaner then you guys are a lot meaner than I am. So
you did go on record and say you were surprised at how harsh we were.
All right, it is my turn. Let's change it up. Let's go with Shinsuke Nakamura. In ring, I'm giving this guy 14. Wally?
13.
Stritch?
14.
And J-Bone.
I gave him 11.
Pretty good sampling there. J-Bone, why'd you go a little bit lower on that one? Just out of curiosity.
I mean, he has a unique fighting style, but there's not too much that makes me go, wow, compared to, other ones. So I understand everyone's not high flyers, crazy moves and stuff, but
right.
I just think it's a little limited. I think still 11's a pretty solid score.
No, I agree. I was just curious as to why you're a little bit lower. That's all. Okay, now this one's going to hurt. Mike Skills. That's a 3.
Yes, 3.
Stretch.
I went dead in the middle on a 5 because, he's bilingual mostly.
Yes,
His English is not that great, but, the ability to cut, halfway decent promos in Japanese and English can get you a decent way, but 5.
All right. J-Bone?
Yeah, I gave him a 3 as well.
Yeah, it's just – part of it is I've heard him in interviews. His English is actually really good. It's just I don't know if it's maybe just a little bit of nerves when he's in front of everybody, or maybe it's the WWE not really giving him a shot, but his promos are just always a little bit lacking, even though when he interviews, he's very articulate. So
I'd say it's the latter, WWE not giving him a chance, because he has shown in ring and in person he has no nerves.
Yeah, well,
when it comes to wrestling.
Fair point.
Even in NXT, they didn't really let him talk even there, though. So it's not even just WWE.
Well,
it's not even on the main roster. Just it's NXT too. They didn't really let him talk.
Once during his program with Jinder, once they had Jinder say "You all rook the same," that was kind of the end of it. That was kind of killed the mystique.
Yeah. Oh no. All right, then let's go to the more positive side of this thing. Look, get him a perfect 10.
So did I.
Yep, me too.
I gave him a 9.
And a 9. Yeah, when it comes to in-ring entrance and just the overall package, this guy's got it all. He's a solid 10. There's really, we've talked about it before. His entrance is the best, definitely, currently, and I'll fight you for all time.
Right.
He's the other guy that, to me, does have a look. Like, he's got the look. So
Got that kind of rock star style going on. It's pretty good. Intangibles. It's another one where he's definitely got the synergistic thing going on. So he's all, more than some of his parts. So he gets a 5 for me. Wally?
4.
Stretch?
4 as well.
And J-Bone?
4.
All right. So he ends up being 30.5, which puts him in first place by half a point over Cody. All right, Wally, who do you want?
AJ Styles.
Oh, with Styles. All right. Let's go with Aaron.
He got a 15 for me.
Stretch.
So,
14 for me.
And J-Bone.
15.
And 14 from me. Obviously, one of the greatest of all time.
and he's really good in WWE, but he was better in TNA than he is in WWE. So, he really is a household name because of WWE, but anybody that was watching him pre-WWE, he was better then.
Definitely had more freedom in TNA.
So this is the only guy besides RVD who I think really made an impact in another federation. That's a really good wrestler.
Sure.
So
he has also shown, like we talked about it, 2 episodes ago, maybe about the about in-ring generals a little bit, and he's definitely one of those where he can make anybody look twice as good as they really are.
They put him in a program with Ellsworth. That's pretty much sums it up in a nutshell.
Well, you mean my uncle?
Yes. Uncle Eli Ellsworth.
All right. Then let's go with sorry. That tickled me.
He didn't wish me a happy birthday today.
Well, it's early yet.
Yeah.
He's not gonna forget you, bud. Don't worry about it. Let's go.
He's got to strap his chin on first.
Oh my god. Okay. Let's go with Mike Skills. Wally.
I gave him an 8.
8 for me as well.
And J Bone.
7.
And I went a little bit lower with a 6. Overall, pretty close though. I haven't really heard his. Oh, go ahead.
He's decent. His promo skills are actually better in WWE than they were in TNA. He was
Okay.
dicey.
I was gonna say I don't know his TNA stuff.
His promos were kind of vanilla in TNA, so he's actually gotten better in WWE with his promos. So
they toward his later years in TNA, they brought Ric Flair in and sort of paired him with Ric Flair, and I think that helped him with his promo skills.
For me, it was like he's always super solid on the mic. Like he has confidence, he can talk well, but then at the same time, I couldn't really recall a really good promo off the top of my head where it's like, this was an amazing promo. So that's why I gave him some couple marks down.
You're probably right about that. So
again, it's not like he's bad. Like again, I love when he talks. I'm like, yes, I'm enraptured. But then I also couldn't recall. So
he had some funny ones when talking about the Undertaker and John Cena. So he had a couple good ones. I thought.
Yeah, and when he was with the club too, they had some good ones.
All right, then let's go to look / entrance and all the fun stuff.
I gave him an 8 on that also.
Me too.
Wally or not Wally? Stretch or J-Bone?
8.
8. Oh, it's 8 across the boards on that one. So I mean, great entrance. I love the hoodie. I love the
he showed Dominic the correct way to wear a hoodie. You take it off once you get in the ring.
I'm not a huge fan of his music. I actually don't love his music.
You don't like the DMX ripoff?
So it's fine, but it's not my favorite.
He probably would have gotten a 9 for me, but I hate the mom hair.
Nah.
The soccer mom haircut.
Yep. I hate it. Every time I see his older matches, it's like, dude, you got to cut your hair. You look so much better.
He's going to want to speak to your manager in a moment if you don't, stop talking bad about him.
Going to want a free telephone. All right, let's go with intangibles.
I gave him a 5 in that. So
Stretch.
4.
J-Bone.
4.
And 5.
He's a company guy for whatever company he's worked for. He's like one of those guys who's like the epitome of a wrestler to me. He does everything right. Not a lot wrong.
When you hear him in interviews now talk about how badly TNA screwed him over on like money and all this shit, and he still stuck by them for how long as he did until the ship was almost sinking. Just shows how much of a company guy he is, as Wally alluded to.
And he's a leader. He helps develop. He puts people over. I mean, he's got it all in my opinion. So he ends up with a 34.25, which makes him number 1.
I had him at 36. So
yeah, you went the highest. It was 36. Stretch and J-Bone at 34, then me at 33. So pretty close on all that.
I have a feeling every time we pick a new person now, it's going to be like, this person's now number 1. Now this person's number 1.
All right. Stretch, it's back to you.
Let's go Adam Cole.
Adam Cole. All right. In ring, please.
13 for me.
J-Bone.
I give him a 12.
I went 15.
So did I.
I'm going to be real. He is my Shawn Michaels in this category.
He's mine also.
I think he's. I mean, if we were going to have a discussion about the top 3 wrestlers of all time, he's in my top 2.
Yeah.
For in ring. Let's talk about in ring. So
yeah, he is. Him and Gargano are the 2 best guys in NXT to me, hands down. So as much as I like some of these other guys that have went through NXT, I would still take Gargano and Cole even over Owens and Nakamura. As much as I like those 2 guys when they were in NXT, I would still take Cole and Gargano over those 2.
Yeah, not to talk too much about Gargano right now, but we've mentioned it before. But we have, we had Michaels and Hart, and it's Cole and Gargano. I mean, they're kind of it's the same thing. But so solid 15 out of me. I mean, again, is another general. I was especially what we saw with a punter. I mean, he made a punter look good. Not that he also had his own skills, but he helped carry that match and made it something that was 1,000 times better than it should have been. That should have been an absolute disaster, and he proved that he is a leader in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go then to his mic skills.
I went 8.
10.
Went wrong one. 10. 8. J-Bone?
I went 8.
And I went 8 as well. Got some pretty good promos. Good on the
Yeah.
mic.
Very fiery
all
as a
solid.
heel and a face.
He's one of the best. He's one of the best guys on this list. So he's one of the best guys on this list of promos. I only gave 3 10s. He's one of them. So
I think I gave 110, and then he was my next highest, I want to say. So
Yeah, I gave a few
solid.
guys. I gave a few guys 9s and only 110, and Cole was one of my 3 8s.
Yep. Let's go then to Look.
Got a 9 for me on that.
J-Bone.
Gave him an 8.
I gave him a 9.
I gave him a 9.
I mean, his entrance is, Bebe, come on.
He probably has the best entrance on here other than Nakamura.
The biggest pop of the night, whether he's heel or face, is just from his entrance alone.
Yeah.
And I like when he I don't pay attention a lot, but he changes his tights, and I like Nicole doesn't like when he wears the green tights. I like when he wears the green tights. So
it's like Ric Flair. Whenever he wears the red tights, Ric Flair always loses. Whenever Cole wears the olive green, he always loses.
Yeah. So
and I even give him points for when it comes out with Undisputed. They each have their own pose they kind of strike. It's man, it is just some solid gold right there. Oop, I just did something. Hang on here. I accidentally erased something. J-Bone, you gave him an 8, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's go then to his intangible stretch.
That's a 4 for me.
Jay?
4.
I gave him a 5.
So did I.
Because again, he elevates everyone around him. He elevates the entire brand. So he absolutely gets a 5 from me.
Right. He is NXT pretty much.
Yes.
Him and Gargano are NXT. So
all right, so he, as Stretch has predicted, is number 1 with 34.25. I actually gave him the highest score.
Yes. Oh,
no,
really?
I take it back. I didn't hit enter. You gave him a 39.
I definitely gave him the highest score of anybody on either week. I took 1 point away from him total.
Yeah, no, you're right. I didn't hit over. So yeah, you had 39. I gave him a 37. He was 1 point behind Shawn Michaels for me. All right, J-Bone. So actually, I take it back. He's 35.5, number 1 still, of course. So,
okay.
J-Bone, who do you want?
Seth Rollins.
Where is he? Found him. Okay, J-Bone in ring.
I give him a 13.
I also gave him a 13. Wally?
So did I.
14.
14 and a 13. As far as main roster, I think he's probably the best that is on the main roster for in-ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
You can make the same argument with him too. He can pull good matches out of, almost anybody. He made, a green son of Rey Mysterio look damn good. Again, no taking back from Dominic. He put it in his, spots and his training as well, but you're in there with Seth Rollins, he's going to make you look good.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. Okay. Mike skills.
I gave him a 7.
I went with an 8 on that one.
Me also.
I went with a 9.
Outside of maybe Kevin Owens, he's probably the best on the main roster. He can go out there and he can work that mic. So,
when your gimmick is that you're a messiah, and
you better be good on the mic.
Yeah, he's solid on the mic. He's an 8-9.
Yeah,
he probably is the best guy other than Owens. That's why they put them in a program together, because they knew they were guaranteed getting mic work there. So,
yeah, if only we would see more of that program.
If only.
Yep.
We can blame Rey Mysterio re-signing a contract for that. Then the stupid son of a bitch got hurt. So they were going to have him and Owens continue their program, and then Mysterio re-signed his deal and then got hurt. Why wouldn't you?
And then we even almost, as a result of that, we almost got KO and Aleister Black, but then Dabakoa had to pop in and do something about that.
Right, because that's a great idea. So.
Yeah. All right, let's go look.
I gave him an 8.
I gave him a 9.
I gave him a 9.
I went 10.
Wow. So we got 10 on that guy. All right.
Interesting.
I love the entrance. I love his look. His costumes, his uniform are just always outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big fan of his new entrance music. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not a big fan of the. I like this old music better.
I like the Messiah gimmick, not the Messiah entrance.
Yeah,
Sure.
Just sounds generic.
And I feel like his music sounds like Bailey's, right? I feel like Bailey's music and Seth Rollins' music sound very similar.
Her heel music.
Yes.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Definitely not her face music. That definitely doesn't sound anything Seth Rollins has ever done.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to the intangible flex category. J-Bone.
Game of 4.
As did I. J-Bone, you and I are on the same wavelength today.
Well, I gave him a 4 too.
I went with the 4 as well.
All right. 4 across the board. I mean, again, another leader. Another just guy who elevates and just kind of lifts everybody around him. Which makes him a solid second with 34 point, actually tied with AJ with 34.25. I'll have to redo some math there, make sure they have the exact same points, but I think it would round it a little differently. So I believe we have an exact tie at second place between the two of those guys there.
Nice.
All right. J-Bone, who are we doing next?
No, Jay just picked.
I just did one.
Oh, you just picked. That's my
It's
bad.
you.
It's my turn. Let's go. Tomasa Ciampa. I'm giving this guy a 13 for his in-ring abilities. How about you, Wally?
11.
Stretch?
I went 13 as well.
I went 12.
12. Pretty close on that one. I mean, he's another just solid performer. When he comes out, he doesn't. I don't think he could do a bad match if he even tried.
Yeah, he's actually my second lowest person on here. So.
And that's saying something about everybody on the list when your second lowest is an 11 out of 15.
I mean, yeah. So I guess right now, if you're a fan of in-ring like we are, it's a great time to be watching wrestling because
Right.
I mean, it's like just looking at this list, they're all a bunch of home run hitters over here. So plus, I also just like his manic style as well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to his mic skills, in which I gave him a 6. Wally?
7.
Stretch?
I went 7 as well.
I went 6.
6. It's another thing where when I hear him speak, it's fine, but I also couldn't really recall a promo.
I think the best thing he had done on the mic was calling the title belt Goldie.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
Yeah.
say. That's the one thing I think that would contribute to him. That's probably what even brought him up to a 6 for me. So
He actually is, one of my, other than the non-American
Non-English
people
speakers.
on here, and Brock, he's my lowest guy on the mic.
sure. And then let's go look. I gave him a 7 because, goddamn, he's got an amazing beard.
I went
I gave
6.
him an 8. I gave him an 8.
8, and then a 6, and then J-Bone.
7.
7.
His music's good.
Yes, his music is very good, especially when it's no music and fuck you, Ciampa.
Yes,
So
right.
Mhm.
So that's one of the best entrances ever.
Yep.
Fuck you, Ciampa.
Mm-hmm.
And he ate that shit up too.
Oh,
So.
yeah, something else. It's so good. So, yeah, we're all pretty close on that one, too. And then intangibles, I'm going to go 4 on that one. Wally?
3.
Stretch?
I went 2 on that one.
Sounds like the dogs are also going 2. And J-Bone?
I went 3.
3.
He gets hurt a lot.
He does
Yep,
get hurt a lot.
That's why you ranked low on intangibles for me.
Unfortunately, it's not always his fault. You get hurt, but
Yep.
And
he's
he
missed
was,
significant chunks of time because he's been hurt
Yep.
twice, where he's
And-
missed months.
and those injuries interrupted what could have been like feud of the year / feud of the decade.
Yep.
And it
Yeah,
didn't give
but-
it a proper ending.
We got Cole and Gargano instead, and I actually, like I said, I thought that turned out better anyway. So
I still would have liked to have seen a little bit more satisfying of a conclusion, but Cole Gargano, I think, on paper and what actually turned out was something that it actually worked out better for the wrestling fans. So
Yeah.
that's going to put him at a 28.75. So he's a little bit lower on our list there, but still solid there.
about where I had him. So
Yep, you gave him a 29. So
no, I gave him a 27.
hang on, mine messed up. So 11, 7, 8, and 3.
Yeah.
That's 29.
Oh. Okay. That's still one of my second lowest, I think, other than Brock.
All right. So then, Wally, who would you like to talk about next?
Kevin Owens.
Okay, one of 2 KOs on our list.
3.
With 3, really?
Kazuchika Okada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have that, but I didn't catch that. I see it right there. I mean, I see another 3 KOs. So if you want to be in wrestling, make up your name to have a K and an O. Wally, what do you got for in ring?
I gave him a 13. He's the best fat guy wrestler I've ever seen. So
Sure.
he gets my nod. As much as I like Samoa Joe, I think Kevin Owens is the best chubby guy, bigger guy wrestler I've ever seen.
Yeah, I went 12. Sort of the same reasons. He does a lot of things you wouldn't expect for a bigger guy. Very athletic, still can string a great match together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave him a 12.
And I gave him a 12 as well. So we're all pretty much in agreements on that one. Yeah, he's got fantastic, skills, especially for a bigger guy who can do things that he shouldn't be able to do.
He's definitely better than a certain other fat guy.
Yeah, yes, but who's noticeably absent from our list, so we're not going to give him any kind of mic time. So let's go to someone who deserves more mic time, KO. And then I know what Wally's going to give him, which is I'm going to say it. Somehow Wally cheated and gave him a 12 and a 10 category. I'm still going to put you down for a 10.
Yes.
Stretch.
It was a 9 for me.
J-Bone.
I gave him a 9.
I gave him a 10. I mean, he's the best on the main roster, probably best in WWE as a whole, and maybe the best in wrestling, any show we're going to be talking about, in my opinion. So,
Yeah, I only gave one other 10. So on this, he's the best guy on the mic other than MJF. Maybe in wrestling for me right now.
yeah, I mean, maybe he tied with Jericho when Jericho was still doing a bit more, but I think MJF has kind of eclipsed Jericho at this point. So,
Right.
This is Owens' category.
Yep.
Like he is the mic guy.
yeah, he absolutely owns this 100%.
The only other guy that the only other guy is the guy in Eli's shirt. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
so.
Those are the 2 9s I gave out.
So Owens is a pimp on the mic. So
Absolutely, he is. Let's switch over to his look. Is he going to be a pimp for his look?
I only gave
Wally.
him a 7 on this one. That's me being generous to him. So
Yeah.
I went 7 on that as well.
Okay. Jay?
7.
I went with the one dissenter. I went with a 6, which is basically a 7 anyway. So
he definitely doesn't look like a wrestler,
Nope.
but I mean that's a positive
It works
or
for
a
him.
negative.
I think it works for him.
No, that's why he's likable because I'm like, sweet, if he's a wrestler, then all of us could be a wrestler.
exactly.
So,
I mean, the fact that you get to come to work in, basketball shorts essentially, and a tank top and go to work and have wrestling matches, it's pretty cool.
and he's definitely trimmed down like recently. Like
Yep.
I think he's trimmed down a little bit. So, but he's still a chubby guy wrestler. So
Agreed. So then let's go to his intangibles. Wally.
I gave him a 4.
Stretch.
4 as well.
J-Bone.
4.
And I went with a 3 on that one. So solid overall. He ends up with a 32.25, which at the moment is ranking him roughly 4th. Now, again, it also could be a little off because some of my solo scores are still in here, but I think that's still a solid 4 for him, even with my other solo scores. All right.
Stretch gets the pick again.
Gets the pick.
Let's go. Person I feel like who's probably going to be number 1. Let's go Kenny Omega.
So lead us off.
For his in-ring, 15.
J-Bone.
Me also 15.
Yeah, I gave him a 15 as well.
As did I. I mean,
What else do you have to say?
yeah, exactly. I mean, come on, it's Kenny Omega.
He's been responsible for more, quote, matches of the year than almost anybody recently. And half of them, a lot of the American audience hasn't even seen because they don't watch New Japan.
Now this is his his category. That's
For
what
me,
I
it
mean.
definitely was.
This guy is arguably the best wrestler in the world. So if you give him anything other than a 15, then you probably don't know what's going on.
Right.
Yep. All right. Let's go then to his mic skills.
I went with a 9 for him. Sort of the same factor as Shinsuke, but Shinsuke got ranked a little bit lower because he's not as fluent in both languages. Kenny's fluent in 2 languages. He can cut a perfectly fine promo in Japanese too, and still, draw a whole crowd. Which the Japanese crowd is, tough to sway, but he managed to do it for 6 years or however long he was in New Japan. So, drawing a crowd in 2 languages gets you a 9 for me.
All right, J-Bone.
I haven't seen a ton of interviews and stuff with him, but I gave him a 5.
Yeah, I gave him a 7. Like his promos in AEW have been, fine.
I gave him a 6 for that reason, and that's on me. And I went with spoilers. I went with the 5 on intangibles to help make up for it, just because I don't have enough exposure with him in New Japan for cutting promos, so I couldn't rank him higher. But what I've seen on AEW has been adequate.
Yeah.
And then let's go look.
That was a 9 for me.
Me also.
I gave him an 8.
8. Hang on, sorry. We went a little bit out of order. What I was doing there. So 2 9s and 8, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And then with me, I gave him a 7. I mean, he's got a pretty good entrance. Got a pretty good, in-ring style. So it's pretty solid overall for him. And then intangibles. So I spoiled that. I gave him a 5.
That was a 5er from me as well.
Me too.
I gave him a 5.
Okay. Another 5. So he took 5s across the board on all agreement. So that puts him half a point behind Cole.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's where I have it, right? That's where I had it. I had Cole, Omega, Gargano, 1, 2, 3 for me personally. So
yeah, both J-Bone and I gave him a 33. Stretchy gave him a 38. Wally gave him a 36. So pretty close there. I mean, for all intents and purposes, that's a tie for first. I mean,
right.
We're splitting hairs at that point. So
you could pick either or.
It just that was where it really came down to. One of them, I think, a little bit better than the other one on the mic. I think that's where the difference comes in.
Honestly, that's pretty much where it came from, was the mic skills on that.
So, and if we see Kenny the Cleaner in a year, he might go up a point for most of us on the mic. We just haven't really seen him. They've been more focal putting the mic in Hangman's hands than Omega sometimes, and I don't know if that's always the right decision. So,
All right, J-Bone.
Guess let's go with Gargano.
Okay, in ring, please.
I gave him a 13.
He is my other 15.
Me too.
13 as well for me. Jay and I are in agreement on that one.
That's
so are me and Zach.
Awfully close. Yeah, that's. I mean, again, he's my Bret Hart.
Yeah,
and this dude can go. He cannot give a even halfway bad match.
Me and Zach clearly like Adam Cole, and we like Johnny Gargano. So clearly, me and Zach are fanboys for these two guys.
I absolutely am. Yeah, apologetically. So
I am very much in agreement that this is Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. Cole and Gargano.
Not to spoil things, while I end up rating Cole a little bit higher, I do like Gargano a little bit better personally. But again, I think it's one of those Michaels Hart's thing where it's like they're both two of the best, so you just kind of fall into one side of it. So, but yeah, in ring, I mean, again, like when I look back at some of my notes from earlier episodes, we're talking about like some of the best matches and stuff like that. Gargano, like in my post 2010 best matches, was like half my matches almost. So
right,
and Cole,
Cole was. Definitely in that too. But like I said, Gargano is just constantly on that. And again, the fact that my match of the year one year was from a house show with both Gargano and Cole says something. But then we were going to go mic skills. I gave him a 7.
I gave him a 7. 7.
I gave him a 7.
7 as well.
This is another one of those where give another year as a heel. And then if he can continue these skills that he's made, like if we were to revisit this a year from now, he might be an 8 or 9 for me on mic skills. I'm going to be real.
I don't know. I can't. He might go up 1 point for me, but he was not good as a face on the mic. Like he struggled. So like it just unfortunately wasn't for him.
Right.
So there are definitely there are guys on this list besides him who are good at playing one side and not the other. That's how a lot of people fall. He struggled on the mic when he was a face, but he is so good as a heel that
Yeah,
It almost makes up for it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's, 7's not terrible. You're not going to get very many 9s and 10s. You know, it's just how it is.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if he's not a heel for a year, he's definitely an 8 for me. And then if he can go back to face and still cut as good promos, maybe a 9 at that point. But again,
Right.
we're talking 2-3 years in the future. And then for look, J-Bone, what you got?
I gave him an 8.
I gave him a 9. Wally?
I gave him an 8.
8.
All right, another really close on that one. For me, it's the every pay-per-view looking like a different Marvel character, or where he wants to go for. Plus, I just love the emoji winky face that he's got, which I actually did, when I was doing some research, found out that he actually designed that himself through a logo designer. It was where it's like royalty free when he was coming up. He's just like, I don't know, I kind of liked it.
Nice.
His music was better when he was a face.
Yes,
I don't
I will
like his
agree to that.
music as much now, but his look is cool now, and just the way he is, his whole demeanor now is. At first he didn't buy in. It didn't seem like he bought into being the heel at first. It took him a little while, but then he convinced himself this is going to work. And now he's completely bought in.
Now the promos from the Gargano household are must see TV.
Are
they
fabulous.
Absolutely, they are.
When he,
yeah,
fabulous. And the same thing, without going into any detail, the same things kind of happened to Candace. She was blah as a face, and all of a sudden she's become entertaining too.
Mm-hmm.
So
she was sort of the white meat baby face before.
She was a Bailey.
Yeah, essentially.
It's fair to say. J-Bone, how about his intangibles? Intangibles.
I gave him a 4.
4. I gave him a 5.
I gave him a 5.
4.
The fanboys here are at it again.
Yep. So that gives him a 33.75, which is putting him around 5th. Not too shabby. He's keeping good company there. All right. Who do we have left? I'm not going to take CM, so I'll take Finn. I gave him a solid 11 for in-ring.
12.
Stretch.
I gave him a 10.
12 for me.
12 and then a 10.
Jay took points away because of his finisher, at least.
I did as well. He would have been probably a 12 or 13 had he not had one of my least favorite finishers from a superstar.
I mean, with the way hopefully, they're moving him to more of the DDT as his finisher with the way he just won the belt from Cole,
which was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then let's go Mike Skills. Just middle of the road, solid 6. It's fine.
I gave him a 5.
We're going out of order. Hang on, you're making me bounce over my spreadsheet. Wally, what do you got?
6.
And Stretch.
6.
Perfect.
He's passable.
Yeah.
Right.
He's not bad. So that's why I gave him 6.
Definitely much better as a heel.
He's better as a heel.
Yep.
For sure. Like his promos when he came back to NXT have been his best stuff so far.
All right, then
but that means his stuff before that was dicey.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we're going to go look entrance. He's getting a 9 from me.
Me also.
Stretch.
8.
And J-Bone.
Gave him an 8.
So again, some solid. Again, it just great entrance. I don't like it quite as much as a heel because they're not looking for the audience pop, even though they're still there to do it. But I mean, just the music with the arms out is just.
As much as I
get chills every time.
As much as I don't like the demon, stuff can be cool. I don't really like the demon, and his entrance was definitely better the first time around in NXT because, like I said, they've chopped 15 or 20 seconds off his music, and I liked it better with the build-up.
Yep. All right, let's go over then to intangibles. I went with a 4. Wally?
4.
Stretch?
3.
J-Bone?
4.
Solid marks. Overall, I gives him a 29.25, which puts him right now at 9. Which is probably actually technically a 10 because of the tie, but all right. Wally,
CM Junk.
All right. So what is Junk getting for entering from you?
I gave him a 12.
Stretch?
11.
J-Bone?
11.
11 for me as well.
He's a good wrestler. He's a
One
good
of the-
in-ring guy.
He's really good.
One of the few people, they didn't let him do it, but one of the few people in WWE in recent memory to perform an old school pile driver and not get penalized for it.
Well, I think he got fined for it.
Really?
I think him and Cena got fined for that. Yes, I believe I did read they got dinged for that because that
One
was
of
good. They went off script, so
One of the few people to have the balls to do that.
yes,
Yeah, fair enough.
that was those two definitely being like, "Fuck you, Vince. We're gonna do what we want," and that made that match better. So good for them on that one.
Mm-hmm.
I gave him a 10 on the mic because he's really good on the mic. So like the pipe bomb, he every time he had a mic in his hand, this is his best category.
Agreed.
By far.
Sorry, go ahead.
No.
Yeah,
I was
stretch.
just good.
Who do you have?
The only person I gave a 10 to in the mic.
This is his, he's one of the top probably 10 guys of all time on the mic. So
J-Bone?
Game of 9.
As did I. And it probably would have been a 10 had I been watching wrestling more when he was actually wrestling. I saw a couple things with him just kind of browsing websites to be like, here's a really cool promo, but since I didn't really see him when he was actually doing it, I couldn't give him a 10.
Mm-hmm.
he marched to the beat of his own drum for sure. Unfortunately,
that
that's
will
going
be
to come
hurting
back
him
to
in a
bite.
second.
That's going to bite him in the ass here in about 2 minutes. So
Yeah.
he definitely marched to the beat of his own drum and did his own thing. And so
Bite him in the ass or put him to sleep in a minute and a half in an octagon.
Ooh. All right, let's go look. What do you got, Wally?
I gave him a 9. So I like both of his entrance music. So and his tapping that made it unique. So he has a pretty good entrance. It's definitely one of the better ones. So everybody knows I'm not a fan of him. So I gave him a 9.
Don't like him.
So.
And the fact that you've rated him this high so far has been pretty surprising to me. Stretch, what do you got?
9 for me as well. The Straight Edge Society gimmick was great. His Best in the World run was great. His Heyman run was great. So he's
Straight Edge Society is my favorite version.
I actually don't know anything about a Heyman run, so we have to educate myself maybe off the podcast on that one. Oh, you can talk about it for a second. We're talking about him. So
he was a Paul Heyman guy for a portion of his 434-day reign as champ, and it was pretty damn spicy, that pairing.
That's actually surprising me that you'd put usually at least modern times, current times, Heyman's only with people who cannot speak on the mic.
That was a weird pairing. So the whole Punk, Heyman, whatever, that's where I started to like Punk less when The Rock beat him because all the internet nerds were like, "Oh my God, The Rock beat CM Punk. This is terrible." And I was like, "Fuck you guys." So eat a dick. I was happy that The Rock beat CM Punk. So I think me and CM Punk diverged some more there because I didn't like the internet community for whining and crying about that. So.
J-Bone.
I gave him a 9 as well. I like his entrance musics and.
I'm the 1, not 9. I gave him an 8, but again, that's could be almost blamed for me not really seeing a bunch of his stuff. So
here comes CM Punk's category.
Yep. All right. So 5 across the board. What do you got, Wally? 5?
I gave him a Uno.
Yep. I figured. Stretch.
I went with a 2.
J-Bone.
I went with 2.
And I also went with a Uno.
We all know why. This is the Stone Cold drop your ball and go home, bitch.
Yep, but whereas Stone Cold ranked a little higher because of his impact overall on wrestling, CM Punk didn't have quite that same overall impact that would boost him above a 1 for me.
His name still gets chanted when the segment is shit. It's a meme.
I know, but that's in if they want to chant for him in Chicago, that's fine. But anywhere else, it's dumb at this point.
At this point, it's gotten funny to see how people react in the ring to a CM Punk chant. Vince has had a funny response once to one, and Triple H has. Like I said, it's a meme now at this point.
Yeah, definitely.
This is where marching to the beat of your own drummer came back to bite him in the ass. So because he did drop his ball and go home, and clearly he doesn't care that he did it. So,
and despite all that, he still scores a solid 31, which puts him in 7th place.
Which he's good at all this other stuff. Even though I don't like him, I'm not going to like discredit him for like, you know, he was good at what he does. So.
And then, all right, back to the birthday boy stretch. You're going to finish this
There's
up
only
with Okada.
one person left. Yep.
Mr. Okada.
In ring, please.
15. His matches with Kenny were great. He's had other matches with God, what is his name? He had matches with Tanahashi when he first came up to win the belt. He's got a feud with Jay White right now that I think is going to be really good. And yeah, he's been ruling Japan for a while. He's been their ace.
I bet I gave him a 14.
As did I, J-Bone.
14.
I made a mistake. Hang on, 14.
This is his category.
15.
Mhm.
Yep.
And of the four things, this is definitely his category. He's another one of the greatest in-ring performers currently. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we give a grade for Mike's skills, can we?
it's tough.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
So-
he gets penalized here. I think again, like not.
I actually had to have conversations with Wally on this one because outside of a couple of matches that's been recommended, I'm like, I haven't seen a single promo. Does he speak any English? So Wally and I think we're going to go a little bit lower on this one, but because I was willing to at least give him the benefit of the doubt. Like, do I give him points if they're good Japanese promos? Like, does he have good Japanese promos? Can I get any comments on this? I couldn't really find a lot without doing too much research, but
Stretch. What's
well,
the
Stretch, what do you
verdict
give
on him?
yeah.
Like I said, he's been sort of the ace of New Japan, so he does cut fairly decent promos. But again, from us being from an American's perspective, we're not going to understand them as easily as a Japanese fan would. So that's going to kind of rank him lower, I think, for all of us. But he's essentially like he's Japan's version of, I don't want to say Cena because he puts on better in-ring work than Cena. Like he's more of a workhorse than Cena was. Like he has more move diversity. But he's sort of like their total package. Like he can cut pretty decent promos. He's great in the ring. Like he has the look. But again, for us being a U.S. audience, I think it's going to rank lower for us because we only really have exposure to his Japanese promos.
Yeah. What'd you give him then?
I went right down the middle. I went 5.
4.
I went 5.
Hang on here. Wally went 4. J-Bone went 5. Right, J-Bone? 5?
Yeah.
And I went 3 just because, again, I couldn't. I mean, you know, that's maybe a discussion for another time, but like, just we could have a quick, like, 1-minute conversation, maybe with Stretch on this one. I guess, what do the Japanese look for out of a good promo? Is it something similar to what we look for in the U.S. audience? Like,
so with the Japanese audience, it's been sort of put on record by like Kenny and the Bucks and all these guys who have wrestled, you know, both in America and Japan. The Japanese audience are very like respectful. Like they won't like pop during a promo or interrupt you or during a promo or try and start a chant. Yeah, they essentially sit on their hands until, you know, a wrestler concludes, like has a defiant end to a promo, and then they give their reaction. So you don't know, sort of, sometimes you can't read a Japanese crowd with their promos. So that can kind of be hard for some guys, as you know, Kenny and the Bucks have said, you know, when they first went over there, it was kind of weird. Like they didn't know how to read people. And
my guess would be the comedy isn't as big a deal over there either. I feel like that crowd is more serious. I
mean, it has its space. I mean, look at like Michael Nakazawa. He was big in Japan for a while. It's just very like select. Like Japanese fans' idea of humor, like for Nakazawa, for example, is a guy rubbing baby oil over himself, and he's like the top comedy wrestler over there for a while. And over here, we're like, that's kind of weird. Like, I don't know. And then, so it's just, it's cultural differences, honestly.
Sure.
Like,
yeah. I just, since you seem to know a bit more about this, maybe at some point we'll have to do an episode where you're hosting it as educating us with New Japan and giving us some homework assignments. Yeah. Maybe we can.
I'd be down.
Educate. I'd like to be educated with the New Japan wrestling. So
yeah.
But for now, then let's go back over though to his look.
I went with a 6. He had a run after he first won the belt from Tanahashi where he was like the ace, they called him. And he had like this, you know, golden blonde hair, and he had all this, you know, stylish entrance gear that's full of sparkles and rhinestones and all this stuff. And, you know, he was beloved by everybody. He kind of fell off after that. You know, he maintained that gimmick through his feud with Kenny. And then he sort of went to a gimmick that some people like, but I wasn't really fond of. He sort of went with like a homage to Pennywise, sort of. He had like these long red pants. He dyed his hair red. He carried around a balloon to the ring once. Like,
oh wow!
Yeah, some people liked it. I wasn't really that fond of it, so just went with a 6, sort of a little bit above average for me.
Sure, J-Bone.
I went 7.
Me too.
Me too. I just basically all I did was I just typed in his name and then went images, and I just like, I like that look. I like that look. He's got some pretty good hair here. So, and then let's go intangible.
I went with a 4.
Me also.
4.
Okay, 4 across the board.
Yeah, he is New Japan. Like, New Japan generationally has, one person that sort of carries the torch for the company for a while. I mean, sort of like WWE does, but not really now. They sort of have a couple different people. But it's been Okada for a while. Like I mentioned, Hiromu Tanahashi was the guy for years and years. And then Okada had a series of matches where he beat him. And then Kenny was the guy for about a year or two, and then he left. So it's back to Okada now. And they're sort of building up Jay White to, I think, sort of take his place.
Okay. So that puts him at 29.25, which ties him with Finn Balor for 10. So that's our list. Let me go through it. Adam Cole, number 1, 35.5. Number 2, Kenny Omega in even 35. Number 3, we have AJ Styles with 34.25. Number 4, who's wait? Do we have a tie at third? And Seth Rollins tied for third, 34.25. 5th, we have Gargano, 33.75. 6th is KO. I should say in this case, Kevin Owens, since we have 3 KOs. Kevin Owens with 32.25. Then in 7th place, CM Punk at 31. 8th, we have Nakamura with 30.5. There 8. Okay, there 9 is Cody Rhodes with 30. Tied at 10, we have Okada and Finn Balor at 29.25. And then after that, I believe, is Ciampa at 12, 28.75. And then Brock Lesnar at a 19.75.
I mean, my top 5 was Cole, Gargano, Kenny, AJ, and Seth. Those were the 5 guys that were in not the same order.
Yeah.
On this, but that was my 5.
Yeah, it's pretty close overall.
I think that's who the 5. If we had more, like stuff with Okada, he probably would be up higher. So,
sure.
but
I agree with that.
The top 5 is who I think the 5 best wrestlers in the world are right now.
Mm-hmm.
Our top 5.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not Owens' fault that WWE is wasting him.
Yeah.
I also think Owens would be up higher if he was in a program that mattered and if WWE wasn't ruining him. So
yeah, because I gave him a 3 on that intangible, and I kind of didn't mention it then, but for one of those reasons is he's not used enough. It's not his fault, but it counts against him. So had we all ranked him a bit higher on the intangibles too, that probably would have bumped him up to at least the top 5. So
we should have put somebody else other than Brock on here. I realize now, because all this did was make Brock look like terrible. I think that upset me a little bit because I don't think he deserves to be shit on that much. So.
Well, we went a little bit shorter than I thought we would. If you want to rate Randy Orton real quick, we could do that.
No, Orton's going to finish higher than Brock, so.
You don't want to see that?
Yeah, Fat Ass might even rank higher than Brock at this point, and as much as that pains me.
Not happening for me.
I got salty with Brock because I didn't like that you guys were shitting on him that much. I think he deserves a little bit better than that. Well, when you're making him worse than Hogan, I think that hurts a little bit.
I did not make him worse than Hogan, to be fair.
So I think that hurt a little bit because I think he's maybe on the same level with Hogan. So I think he's a little bit better wrestler than Hogan. So.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I think stretch me. It's like my birthday. If I want to give him a 2, I'm going to give him a 2. You can't stop me. It's my day.
I mean, obviously there was some miscommunication because I said you could base it on what he did before 2010 too. We were just lumping his career into now. So like I guess that's the part is like he definitely did something special in those 2 years for sure. Like he was in the match with Angle, and he was in, some of the best matches of all time then. He doesn't put on matches of the year ever anymore. I understand that. But what he did those other 2 years, though, you can't, pretend that didn't happen. So.
Well, it's not a good look either for the last 5-6 years when you show up, once a month or whatever.
No.
That kind of.
I ranked him higher in the ring because of what he did from 2002 to 2004. That's the part of Brock's career that I remember the most because that's when I started liking Brock. That's when I started liking Brock Lesnar. am not going to stop liking him just because he comes back and WWE makes him like a fixture that they only let him show up once every 4 months and he wrestles in 10-minute matches. Like, you know, I don't know how that's WWE, and that's probably him getting diverticulitis. Like, you know, it obviously changed things for him. So, and Brock's not going to be like, oh, I want to do all this stuff. You're going to pay me $2 million. I'll just do whatever bullshit you tell me to go out and do. He's not the guy that's going to be like, oh, I want to give the people more than what they want. He's definitely not that guy.
No, he's in business for himself. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't think that this makes him a terrible wrestler just because he's last on this list. You know, he's still being on this list, you know, says something, you know.
Yeah, I know. It's more upsetting that he finished lower than Hogan point wise. I think that's more upsetting to me because I think Hogan's terrible. So
the only thing I give Hogan credit for is maybe he's done more for wrestling than Brock has, but any other category, I'd give Brock over Hogan. That's it.
Yeah, sure. So then just
we should have picked somebody else to. We should have picked somebody else to put on this list other than Brock. I think now. So looking back,
we struggle to try to find the last guy.
Yeah. So just out of curiosity, though, Stretch, I'll give you the last comment before we move on to the next segment. So, Hogan versus Brock. What do you got? If you're going to re-rate them, but like just do real quick in your head, like personal, and then even like rank them. You know, as
like are you asking if they were in a match together? Who would I pick, or just who
just
like
overall? Like if you
if you could only take one of them, to you had to pick one of them to watch their matches or to watch them. If you could only pick one of them.
We're talking about the worst of the best, so this is still not a shameful category to be in.
So Hogan did more for a generation, meant more to wrestling. Brock is more of a superstar, and he has more. I'd say Brock has more mainstream recognizability nowadays because of UFC. And granted, he wasn't a success in the NFL, but because he was in the NFL for a couple preseason games and he has that on his resume. He's a former UFC champion. Go Brock, honestly, on that. But just because Brock's matches have more, you know,
substance, a little bit more on the other end, like competitor-wise, he's had matches with AJ Styles, with Daniel Bryan, with Seth Rollins, with Roman that have all been good. And whereas I go back and watch Mysterio,
I go back and watch a Hogan versus Andre, Hogan versus Savage was decent. I go back and watch, Hogan fight the Monster of the Week, the King Kong Bundys, the, Paul Orndorffs, the whoever else, and just kind of formulaic.
So you think Brock?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Hogan is the worst of the best.
Okay. I feel better now.
All right. Let's move on. Let me get to my notes here, but we're going to be talking to you all out after some technical difficulties from the host. How embarrassing. So J-Bone, since you watched the entire pay-per-view from start to finish more than once, I understand. Do you want to start this off? All right. So J-Bone, unfortunately, was able to watch this one, so he's going to be a little bit quiet even for J-Bone.
They didn't have technical difficulties. They said they had some other kind of difficulties during this pay-per-view.
Yeah, we'll kind of go through match by match here. Private Party versus Dark Order. The only reason I want to talk about this for any length of time was that Private Party looked good, and we got to see Gin and Juice.
We got to see Gin and Juice.
We got to see Private Party, period, on the pay-per-view.
True.
Yeah.
So, solid match, though. So, that's fine.
They deserve better, but somebody has to be like the mid-card or AEW Dark, and that's where Private Party is right now.
And they're still young, so there's still time.
Yeah.
They're fun, though. They're really fun to watch, so.
Then we have Britt Baker versus J-Bone's girlfriend, Big Swole, in a tooth and nail match, in which, oddly, we all had predicted Baker to win that one. Swole won in a very odd choice from AEW. Even that happening, I still actually had fun with this match.
Me too.
I liked it.
It was fun.
I'm not gonna lie.
Reba or whatever, she was fun when she got tossed in the dumpster.
And then that crutch came out of nowhere and just
or when Britt tranquilized herself.
Her.
Yes.
Britt constantly yelling for her is hilarious. Reba!
Yeah. My final note for it was Baker gets gassed early for the loss.
You did skip one match on the pre-show though.
Did I? Which
Janela versus Serpentico?
I don't know if I saw that.
Zach did not arrive until after that was over.
Joey Janela had pretty much a nothing match with Serpentico.
We were having our own technical difficulties there, Wally, for that.
That's when that happened. So we missed we saw some of that match, but it was not relevant.
Yeah, it was okay. It was like something you would see on AEW Dark.
And
I was disappointed that Britt lost. I don't understand why you bring her back. And
apparently, I read somewhere that she wasn't even still at 100% clearance yet.
I thought I could kind of tell that. Or also the whole time I just kept going like, "Oh my, like be careful, girl, be careful." It's like, don't hurt yourself.
Don't be out for another 6 months.
I kept like talking to like Big Swole, like, "Don't you dare hurt her. You be gentle." You know? That's probably treasured.
Probably why they leaned on more of a cinematic match, honestly, because Britt probably isn't 100% yet. Probably at more like a 85, 90%.
Yeah,
Jay got to celebrate. When I texted him, he's like, "Sweet, Jay Swole won."
Why even have the match then if she's not 100% yet? Or I mean, why even do it then?
Right, probably just to get a name on a pay-per-view.
Because they know how desperate they are for.
Yeah, but to do that and have her lose, it's
right.
Yeah.
It discredited her kind of. Well, the feud's over supposedly between them.
I mean,
the feud's over.
They're building a future star in Big Swole, guys. Come on.
And I read that she's. Yeah, and I've read people say that she looked really good and she's making an impression, and I'm just like, what the fuck are you watching?
She looked really good in a pre-filmed cinematic match.
Where she's not even the better wrestler in the scenario. So
she's the third best wrestler in that match.
Behind Reba?
Yeah. All right.
I mean, I agree with that.
Yep. Okay. Jurassic Express versus the Bucks. Best match of the night by far.
Yeah,
it turns out.
I agree. Yep.
Best match.
I mean, my notes were basically it's the Bucks doing what they do best, and that Jungle Boy is, in my opinion, pretty underrated.
Mm-hmm. One of the featured stars of the brand.
Jungle Boy is underrated. He's underappreciated. I don't really like Luchasaurus. Not a fan. Don't care about him. The best part of the match
was when Marco Stunt gets super bullied partied.
When Matt Jackson kicked the crutch out and then super kicked Marco Stunt. That was the 5-star part of the night. So, because Zach's like, they're not that heel. Nah, they're not going to do it. And then I'm like, yeah.
And then they did.
Yeah.
Beat up the midget.
Fun times. And
that match was really good. There was a lot of cool spots. And it's just, once again, I'm going to reiterate, when the Bucks are in a match, it doesn't matter who they're fighting. You almost have to watch the match because you're like, okay, they may do something we've never seen before. And even their tag team moves that we see all the time, they're still really fun to watch because they're innovative and they just do cool stuff. So,
yeah, my final note for the match was that if Young Bucks ever want a third, Jungle Boy's the perfect fit.
There you go. He's got the sideburns, the long hair, the great in-ring ability.
He's got the look, and he's got the same in-ring type style too. So, if one of them wants to take a break, they can always substitute in Jungle Boy. So let's go on then to the Casino Battle Royale.
This is where the night took a legitimate turn.
Just right off. Thought the cliff on this one.
And we were also excited too because this got moved from the pre-show to the main show.
Yep.
Just so we could see Matt Sydal come out and botch the shooting star.
Fantastic. Such a botch.
Somebody put butter on those ropes.
Yes. It was a botch. And that's what that guy's career has been to me. Botch, hurt.
And then Archer wins, whatever. Don't really need to talk about that. The other thing though, and everyone talked about it, was the Darby spot. It was kind of like it was sloppy to set up, and then the actual spot itself was kind of extreme, which maybe Jay would like that, but I didn't. Overall, I didn't.
Once again, in a battle royal, let's all stand around and watch them put the body bag in the ring with the tacks in it, and then Darby, here, let me put my leg in there for you.
Let me shoulder my way into this thing.
Yeah, it really took away from the legitimacy of what they're trying to do.
Yep.
And I actually thought Brian Cage looked pretty good in the battle royal. He did some cool stuff, and the guy's got talent. He's kind of a meathead, but he has talent. He's almost a better version of Brock Lesnar because he can do some stuff and they're like, we don't know what to do with him. And I really found myself, guys, close to the end, I found myself rooting for Eddie Kingston because Jay picked him, and that was a very dark horse pick.
Yep.
And he almost won.
Yeah.
So,
and then Zach and I were right, correct? Zach and I picked Archer.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and as I said before you were on the earlier chat with us, Jay, I saw somebody put Lance Archer equals Dollar General Aleister Black, and that's fabulous. So I think Lance Archer is a piece of shit and is never going to change. Jake the Snake is garbage on the mic at this point, so he's not even helping. So that's a train wreck.
Yep. Overall, yeah, just super disappointing there. And then also super disappointing. Sammy versus Matt Hardy in
Match
a broken
of the year.
rules match.
Match of the year.
Disappointing and legitimately scary.
Yes.
Like-
So my notes are Sammy with the victory. No, wait, question mark, Matt Hardy. My only note is what?
What the fuck?
Yeah.
The sheer like negligence of the
Yes.
doctors and the medical team of All Elite Wrestling to let Matt continue wrestling. Like he can say he's fine all he wants, but
Sure.
we can tell that he
Yeah.
just knocked his brains on the
Yes.
concrete. Like
I mean, so obviously that they messed that spot up. I've watched it so many times now. I think they're both to blame on this one. I'm not gonna lie. I've watched it enough now that because like it was sure Sammy speared him, but also wasn't that hard of a spear. It was really looked like Hardy kind of controlling the fall, and he just overshot.
mm-hmm.
Maybe Sammy went in a little bit hot, but
and
They practiced it too.
Yes.
Supposedly they practiced it
twice. They practiced it.
and they could have honestly placed another table at the end of
Yes.
those two and made it easier. Like have 3 tables. Why the hell not?
And,
Like,
and the whole nonsense with okay, the match is over,
Yes,
and
the
then
match is
restarting the match was that might
bell
be some
rang.
of the dumbest shit I've
Yeah.
ever seen on a wrestling event, no matter
And-
what company.
And the only reason I feel like they restarted it is because the stipulation of if Matt
Right.
loses, he's done. Like,
But again, we talked about
you
this.
could
on
have
the
found a way
podcast.
around that. Like,
Right.
Yeah, or he could just
Don't
be
do
like,
this
no,
gimmick
like,
anymore. So
I got
what?
hurt. I'm not leaving. Like you
Yeah.
have to beat me fair and
Well,
square if I'm going to
and-
leave. There's so
and
many
his-
ways you can get out of it.
His gimmick is literally stronger than death. You can't kill
Yes.
me. Like,
Yep.
I-
And he has 5 gimmicks. So
Yeah.
you don't do that gimmick anymore. Whoop-de-doo. Like,
Yeah.
he's got 18 gimmicks, so you just
Yeah.
pick one.
Yeah.
AEW is so scared of, oh shit, like in the moment, what do? We can't, mess up this stipulation. We have to do the finish regardless. Come on, like
And
find
then
this
let's
20
have
foot
this
thing.
guy with the borderline concussion climbing up 25 feet. That's a real smart idea, too. So,
Yep.
Right.
I mean, again, I guess kudos to Sammy for taking another really sick spot though. Like
Yeah.
that dude likes to fall from heights.
But
overall, just
the
a train wreck.
the feud in general had all kinds of promise, and it was terrible.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a terrible feud.
If the battle royal is where the night took a turn, this is where the night hit a screeching halt.
No, this is. I'll find if I can find it. It's like a gif of the car going off a cliff and it rolls and then
Yeah.
it explodes at the bottom. That's this pay-per-view. So editor, do
The
something
car
like
went
that.
off the cliff. Now it's rolling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and exploding. All right, Sheeta versus Thunder Rosa. I
Really
mean,
good match.
very
Pretty good
match.
match, yeah.
And
The
but
problem is they made Thunder Rosa look really strong, and she lost.
Yeah, but they kind of booked themselves into a corner because are you going to have somebody from another company who you don't know if you're going to sign long term take the championship?
sure,
of your
'cause then you just
company?
give it to Britt like 3 weeks, like
But-
next month.
I just
Yeah.
then don't make Thunder Rosa look like a beast. Then Thunder Rosa was the best part of that match going away. Like
Yep.
she 75% of that match,
Yeah.
she was dominant.
That's
And I
like-
don't like WWE. I don't like anybody when somebody dominates a match like that and then somebody sneaks out the back. And she does a face, so it's not like a heel sneaking out the back door cheating to win or whatever.
Mhm.
It's like I had said in the predictions podcast too. Like Thunder Rosa's damn good. Like don't be
Yep.
surprised if she has a good showing, but she doesn't.
Other-
If they're not
I
going
didn't-
to book their champion to lose.
I didn't particularly like the spot where she was like sitting on the steps waiting for Sheeta to jump on her because that looked like it took way too long. She was just sitting there like, are you going to jump sometime? I didn't particularly like that spot. I thought that was not good, but the match was good. I just think the ending was completely wrong for the way they booked that match.
It just goes to show how thin the AEW women's division is right now.
Yep. I mean, to the point where honestly, any show should book Thunder Rosa though. I'm a huge fan now.
She's-
I've
yes,
really seen her
she's-
before. I don't care
Mhm.
what show, like some major promotion needs to book her because she deserves to be in the spotlight.
I think I read WWE tried and she told them no.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, I guess maybe good for her. She has something obviously in sight for her own career, so hopefully she finds a home at AEW because, dear Lord, do they need her. Next up, we have Dark Order versus the Natural Nightmares, blah, 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 broski. My
What
two
the
notes are yawning so much is my first note, and then for the ending, excuse me, what? As in,
Yeah.
why in the world did the Natural Nightmare team take that one?
This was
So-
another unanimous pick, right? That we all
Yes.
got wrong.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So Dustin could fight Brody Lee. That's exactly why they
And
won,
then
just to set up
lose.
that. Right. So it was and then that other team is garbage. So the Dark Order, I don't know. Like Brody was mad about them losing. Brody should have been mad even backstage in real life about them losing because it made no sense.
It makes no sense. Here you are, you're trying to give them legitimacy, and you have them lose this match. They should have come out and it almost should have been a squash match again.
Well,
I don't like the Dark Order, and here I am defending them. This is how bad booking this is.
They just made Brody look so strong too by kicking the living shit out of Cody, and then you have him lose like to a group of people that are mishmashed together, like
and a 52-year-old guy.
Yep.
Yeah, well, thankfully he creamed the 52-year-old guy on Dynamite. So,
all right, yep. Let's just move on.
FTR. The wheels are still coming off at this point. The wheels are still. We're still not to where the wheels are still coming off at this point.
Yep. All right. So then we have FTR versus Omega and Hangman. Overall, solid.
10 minutes too long, in my opinion. The match dragged and
got the desired outcome though.
Well, we knew that was coming. We knew like that.
Well,
but
I'm talking about like both FTR winning and Kenny, kind of storming out and all of that and saying this place needs a cleaning.
Yep.
And then we got the Young Bucks thrown in the mix with him, which we didn't necessarily know that was going to be part of this. Is the Young Bucks, Kenny trying to get the Young Bucks with him, essentially. It seems like the whole elite may be turning heel together now instead of just Kenny. So it was – the problem is they were trying to be the match that Hangman and Kenny had with the Bucks, and it wasn't that match. It wasn't better than that match. It was probably a point below. Like I would give that match at Revolution a 5. This was like a 3.75 or a 4 maybe.
Yeah.
So,
and we got to see Omega kind of go the cleaner towards the end. He said clean or cleaning or cleaning up, like
something like that.
1 minute period. So I mean, we're going the right direction there. Next up, we have Orange Cassidy versus Jericho and a Mayhem Mimosa. Which was, it was fine.
The wheels stopped. The wheels came back here.
My only gripe with this match is, I get it. Like the object, one of the ways to finish the match is, get your opponent in the vat and then it's over. But they didn't stress that you had to get their whole body in it.
Yeah.
Until midway through the match, we'd already dunked legs and a head and an arm in there. Yeah.
I actually kind of wish that Orange would have taken a sip when one time he's getting lowered in. He should have just
pull a straw out of his pocket.
Yeah.
That would have been Jericho ate the win up and now it's a meme. So, or the loss, like he's made turn the loss into a meme. He's like, oh, I just fell in a pool of orange-colored water. Whoop-de-doo.
Go look at his Instagram or his Twitter. He's like retweeting and reposting all these memes, like people photoshopping him into like somebody's cup of coffee or like somewhere like a hot tub somewhere. Like
he let Orange Cassidy. He gave him the push. He let him win. So props to Jericho for letting Orange Cassidy get the push out of this
now,
and
let that feud be done.
Yes,
it's pretty much done, I think. So the match was fine. Like I said, I think in the FTR match we started righting the ship a little bit, and then this match got the ship back to where we were at least where we needed to be. So the match it was better than their last match. I'll at least say that. It wasn't better than the first match they had, but I think it was better than match number 2.
Sure,
I agree.
And now let's finish out the show. An hour 5 of their pay-per-view with Moxley versus MJF.
The
match was good, but
when you have a stipulation that's going to ban a certain move, that move is going to sneakily be used.
Yeah. So. For Moxley to cheat to win, Moxley's not a heel or a face; he's a tweener. But that was corny, and
it still gives MJF credibility though. He lost to a move that was banned.
They wasted all that build up to me. If you're going to build this up like that, then I think MJF needed to win. I'm disappointed that he didn't because I just think that they wasted.
Yeah.
Even though he's going to fight again sometime, we know it's going to happen again. But
and now we're sort of moving him back out of the title picture and what seems to be him and Wardlow breaking up. Yep. So, he'll be out of the picture probably for a while, but we know he'll be back.
It was a decent match. It wasn't. It was fine. It just and MJF did look strong in a loss in this match. He did look like he belonged in the main event, but it just when the whole pay-per-view kind of turned into a train wreck at a point, I was just like, okay, maybe MJF will win and salvage the night. and then that didn't really happen. So it kind of was like, even Zach was like, maybe MJF will win, and this will fix this at least somewhat, and then it didn't happen. So it was just not – it ended up being the worst AEW pay-per-view so far.
Yeah.
This is the first one I actually watched. I mean, I've seen two now. One, I broke the law. FBI, don't come get me. Did buy this one. But yikes.
Yeah.
And we're also used to 2.5-hour WWE pay-per-view. So watching a 5-hour pay-per-view, Zach was like, holy shit,
Yeah,
I'm falling asleep.
Yeah.
Even like my notes, I barely took notes of that last match. I mean, I don't have like ADD or anything like that, but by the end, I'm like, I just want this to be over, please.
Yeah, that's how some of us. That's how me and Eli felt when we were at WrestleMania. We were like, "Oh, just get this over with."
We sat there for 8 hours for WrestleMania.
All right, so who, Mr. Scorekeeper, won this crisp fiver from the losers?
The birthday boy, and he won.
Congratulations, Stretch.
He won like 4 or 5 matches deep. He had already won, so
Yeah.
like he had. I did horrible. So it's embarrassing how bad I did on this one. So I basically kind of did what Eli did in the last one, that we just had 2 combined nights, so it helped Eli. I did what Eli did at SummerSlam, basically picked every match wrong. So, and even the ones we all picked together, we got wrong. That's the worst thing, when you all 4 of us pick something and it seems that obvious, and then they don't win. It's almost like Vince McMahon booking there. Ha ha! I'm gonna get you guys. Ha ha! I'm gonna have the garbage team beat the Dark Order. Ha ha!
Right. Zach, do Wally and I have time for a story?
You sure do.
All right. So Wally and I are going to delve into our experience from going to AEW All Out 2019. So the event was in Chicago. Wally lives in Ohio. I drove there from where I live we spent a night at his house, and the next day we drove to Chicago to do some sightseeing, check in our hotel, and then go to the pay-per-view. So Wally,
actually, we met the Young Bucks first.
Yes, we went to Pro Wrestling
Toss that in at least.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to meet the Young Bucks, and they
was
are
great.
awesome.
Send the editor that picture so he can put it up.
Yeah, perfect pose. So
They
Wally,
are awesome. They are awesome. So
Wally booked a hotel, and it said, what did it say? You're like, this is decently close to the Sears Center. Like, we'll be fine to like take an Uber there, and potentially maybe walk back. Like, we'll see. And so the weather was great. We had eaten some food. Oh, side story before we get into going to the event. This hotel was under questionable management. So on night 1 when we were there, we were like, okay, there's a pool.
Thanks, Eli. You're going to embarrass me. Thank you.
There's a pool at this hotel. We'll go swimming. We had read on the website this pool closes at 9 or 10, Wally, and this was like probably 8:15. We go down to the front lobby because the pool is, the room for the pool is right next to the front desk, and it's like a glass door so you can see through it, and they lock it at 9. So we go there and we try and go in the pool. All the lights are off, and we pull on the door and it's locked. And it's 8:15. We're like, what the hell? So we're like looking behind the front desk, looking for the guy. And he finally comes out of like his back room. We're like, hey, like, what's the deal with this? And he's like, oh, sorry. And he goes and unlocks it. And then we had a bit of toilet problems in our room before this. Wally dropped some kids off at the pool that didn't want to go to school yet. And so
the Browns still did not want to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So Wally was trying to tell this kind man who English was not his first language. He's trying to tell this man in the nicest way possible, hey, I took a massive dump in the toilet and it clogged. He's trying to say it, hey, something, we're having toilet problems, like, something happened. And the guy's like not understanding. He's like, what do you mean? Like, what are you trying to tell me? And Wally like he's trying not to say I took a massive shit and like I need a plunger. But finally he's like, hey, like, can we get a plunger like up to this room? And the guy's like, oh yeah. Like, and then we're like, by the way, can we get in the pool? So pool wasn't anything special. Fast forward to the next day. We look at our phones and look at the Sears Center and we see it's, X amount of miles.
It was like 4 miles. It said it was like 4 miles walking.
Yeah.
Like it was going to take us like an hour to get there.
Yeah. So we were like, it's a nice day. This was at like, 3 p.m. and the pre-show started at like 5 or 6.
It was probably about 4, somewhere 4:30ish, I'm going to say.
So we were like, what? It's a nice day. Like, we don't really want to pay for an Uber because we did have a limited amount of money to spend on this trip. We didn't want to pay for an Uber, so we're like looking at our phones. Says it's a pretty straight shot if we walk. So we're like, what the hell not? We'll walk there and we'll do an Uber back at the end of the night. So we start walking. It's all fine and dandy. We walk sort of off the main road and onto like this dirt road, and it goes back. It's, you know, off of normal dirt road, pretty scenic. And we
There's a highway next to us, essentially. The whole like time we were walking, there was a highway right next to us.
Yeah. So we can see, you know, cars driving by and all that. It's not like we're on some secluded road, but we get to a point and I see a sign, and like there's this big gate that's open, and you can see sort of like construction equipment and trucks in the background in this big building off to the left. And there's a sign that says like no entry permitted without hard hat. And I pointed out to Wally, I'm like, that's kind of weird. Why would they have that sign there? But the doors are open. So I was like, the doors are open. Our route is telling us to go straight through this. We got to go through this. So we get about, I'd say probably 50 yards into this place, and there's like construction equipment everywhere. There's trucks parked everywhere. Obviously, we can tell we're probably not supposed to be here, but we're like, I mean, the route's telling us to go here. It must mean we're allowed to go through here. So we keep walking, and this one gentleman in a work truck with like a bunch of tools and stuff on it pulls up, rolls down his window. He's like, hey, what the hell are you doing? Like, who are you guys? And we're like, oh, no, sorry, sir. Like, we're just walking to this event, and it's at the Sears Center, and look, our GPS told us to walk. And he's like, oh, well, you know, you guys aren't supposed to be here. Like, it's private property, and, you know, we've had people stealing, like, our trucks and our equipment and stuff like that recently and all of this. And we're like, oh, okay, we're sorry. We'll turn around and leave, and we'll just, you know, fuck it. We'll take an Uber.
And they also told us if we would have kept walking, there was a barbed wire fence that we would have had to climb over.
Yeah. So we're like, okay, well, fuck that. We'll just go, like, we'll walk back to a main road and just call an Uber. Like, we'll just eat our losses. And so as we're walking out of this place, we didn't even make it out. And then, like, we're probably 30 yards down towards the entrance that we came in at. And another guy pulls up, this time in like a sedan. Same deal. Hey, who the hell are you guys? What are you doing? We've had people stealing stuff. And we're like, oh, sorry. Like, we're just going into here. Like, our GPS said to walk, but we're leaving. Like, don't worry. And he's like, oh, where are you guys going? Sears Center? Okay, I'll give you a ride. Get in. And Wally's kind of like, I don't know if I should do that. And I'm like behind Wally, like elbowing him, like, get in the fucking car.
Get in. He's like, get in. And
I'm
Eli's not that. That's not the way Eli is. And he's like, get in.
I'm like elbowing him. I'm like, get in the car. Like, we're getting this is a free ride. Like, get in.
From a stranger.
Yeah. So we get in with this guy. We both sit in the back seat. And the guy's like, he's a pretty nice guy, like, you know, sociable. He's, you know, telling us about his work, and he told us about the fence. Like, we wouldn't have been able to make it far anyways. And so he's like, yeah, like, you know, we'll drive you here. And he's driving us into this, because it's Hoffman Estates, which is like a little suburb of Chicago. So he's like driving us through and telling us about all these, you know, little landmarks and everything in the town. And then at one point, stuff started to get weird.
Ass, cash, or grash.
It gets racist. All of a sudden, it gets racist.
Yeah, he's like telling us about like stuff in the town, and like it was pretty cool. He's telling us, you know, some knowledge and some history and everything. And he's like, oh, that place, you know, that business was good over there until those damn Mexicans took over. And we're like, oh God, oh yeah, how close are we to the event? Are we almost there? Like. And then he keeps going on and about that and gets more and more like into deep racism. And we're like,
this whole time I have my hand on the door ready to jump out. If he doesn't go the direction he's supposed to go, my hand is on the door ready to get the fuck out.
Wally had one hand on the door and then one on his phone on the GPS, making sure we were going the right way. And I'm just sitting there trying to keep this guy in conversation so he doesn't, like, you know,
rape you.
Yeah, essentially. So that was going on, and then we finally get to, like, in front of the Sears Center, like, where there's, like, you know, crossing guards and everything, like, telling you which parking lot to go to if you're going to pay or whatever. And we tell the guy, like, we're in line with a bunch of other cars. We're like, hey, we'll get out here. We can walk from here. Like, thank you. You didn't have to do that. We're sorry for all the trouble. Like, thank you so much. And we try and pay him, like, Wally tries to hand him some money. And he's like, oh, no, don't worry about it, guys. Like, it's an honest mistake. And he goes, hey, I'll give you one word of advice for tonight. And we're like, well, what's that? He's like, try and grab some tit. And we're like, all right, you have a great day.
So I'm going to tell the after the wrestling part of the story.
Get the latter half after All Out.
So All Out was fun. We had a good time. We got to see a lot of neck beards and a lot of unattractive women. And so we had fun at the pay-per-view, but we had decided, since we walked there, we were like, okay, we'll Uber back to the hotel. So when we got out, and we had been to WrestleMania, and we weren't thinking. We remembered how much we had probably seen how much the Ubers were at WrestleMania. So, of course, this is an event. So we had budgeted like $15 or $20 for the Uber, and the Ubers were like double that because it was after an event and they knew people were going to want rides.
Yep, surge.
So Eli's like, shit, it's going to be an hour if we're lucky before we get an Uber. So, and there was a hotel right by the place that I probably didn't want to stay in because it was $50 more a night. So obviously we learned that lesson that we probably should have stayed there.
We'll be forking over the $50 next time.
So I'm like, I guess we're going to have to walk back to the hotel. So it's like 11 o'clock at night in the suburb of Chicago. It's fucking pouring.
Freezing rain.
And I'm in a pair of shorts and a T-shirt. I don't remember if Eli had pants or short. I had shorts on.
I think I had jeans and a T-shirt.
So, and because we were on one side of the highway, we had to get on the other side of the highway just to walk back because we knew we couldn't go walk back the way we came.
Yeah.
So we had to walk like probably a quarter of a mile the opposite direction to get to the highway, to get over the highway, and the highway had no sidewalks. So we're walking over a bridge at 11:30 at night with cars whizzing by us with no
Honking
sidewalk.
at us too.
Yeah. And then right after that, we're in grass up to our fucking knees. So, and it's wet. So we ended up walking about 5 miles in the rain back to our hotel on a big dark side street in a suburb of Chicago.
Eventually, about, I'd say, 3 miles after, we had walked most of it, we hit neighborhoods that connected to where our hotel was, and we got onto some sidewalks, and, we were able to use our GPS, and it kind of led us to where we needed to be. But that first 4 miles was something.
I never was, that was the happiest I ever thought I'd be to get back to that dump motel. My knee hurt. I didn't have my knee brace on, so my knee hurt from walking. So I remember at one point Eli's like, "Hey, let's do this for fun," and he's like, "I'll play a wrestling music, and you tell me whose it is." So we were that desperate to make the time go that we were trying to. I think every time a car came by, I'm like, if they stop and talk to us, we are not talking to them, Eli. No chance.
You're running, diving.
No free rides again.
Knee-high grass.
And when we got back to the hotel, right before we went to bed, we started talking about the day, and Eli told me, he's like, looking back, maybe we shouldn't have gotten in the car with that guy. That may not have been the right decision.
But hey, it gave us a story to tell.
It worked out, but at least he was willing to acknowledge, hey, maybe that wasn't a smart idea looking back.
Yep.
If we were dead, it wouldn't have mattered if he had said that, but.
Right.
Fantastic. I love it. All right, so we're going to wrap up this episode. Next week, we're coming back at you with a special episode, non-wrestling related for the most part. We'll surprise you then. So until next week, if life keeps putting you in a pin, kick out in that 2 count. See you guys later. That was good.